placed in a situation we are all in. It's an opportunity for us to think and do things differently, which we have always wanted to do. But because of our regular rush of doing things, our deadlines, all of that, we've not mostly gotten a chance to do it, or we've put it in the back burner. I think this is the time when all our creativity, all our innovative thoughts should be coming in. We can think something which is just not think, which is unthinkable. We can think of things and they may just work out. And I'm sure, by the end of all of this, we will have multiple things, multiple ways that would come out, which will become the new normal. And I would really not want to see a world which was normal before, but our space, the TA space and the HR space to be becoming the new normal, and we being the drivers of that change. That's all.
On the campus or university front, anything you guys want to add, Vinay or Aditya?
On the campus part, I don't see a change. In fact, if I'm not wrong, it really depends on which campus the person was talking about, their engineering or MBA. I've been hearing, at least we do predominantly engineering, but for a lot of the masters, I've been hearing that a lot of companies are doing it virtually. I think that's one mode of also doing those. Also, engineering campus, as of now, whichever companies are looking at them, they are continuing to make sure they honor the internships. Specifically, Vijay, because if you look at logically, right, if I'm running a business, the impact on the cost to serve for an intern is far more lower than a FTE, right? So it doesn't make sense for an organization not to absorb an intern, right? While maybe the timeline will get extended because virtue of not being able to travel from the college to this place, we might see, but yeah, I think so. I don't see much of impact on that as of now, at least from whoever I've been speaking to. And I don't see that as a area, but it's good to keep your options open because it really depends on the other side of the organization, larger organization with their ability to consume at that rate is there or not, right? Sometimes that also impacts. But pure play from a business angle, if you logically think it doesn't hurt your purse that much, as simple as that, right? So ideally, we should not be doing that.
Aditya, can you just repeat what you said, that we should not be doing what precisely?
Yeah, so Monica predominantly was talking about companies not honoring the offers, right, when it comes to campus. Ideally, I don't see much impact from a purse to serve angle, right?
Yeah, got it. Yeah,
so
thank you.
Ideally, the company should not be doing that. So I don't see that as an impact.
Sure. All right.
So I'll have one more question before we go to the wider Q&A, so that kind of we end up covering larger territory from the first-hand point of view. So are you guys seeing, now that the 3rd May extension is decided, right? So we're talking about 20 more days or 18, 19 more days added. So are you guys seeing that we are already in the process of new normals being put up in place, or life is going to be in wait and watch mode now as well? So I think, at least in last 2-3 weeks, a lot of it would have been like, it's let's wait, let's watch, let's see how it pans out. But at some point of time, it will be like life has to start, going at a regular pace, whatever is the pace now, whatever is the new normal, so to say, because we are there for the long haul in this mode. So even if the lockdown goes away, even in May, you will have much more restricted life. So from a TA perspective, are we starting to get into new normals? Or you're saying that, wait, hold on, wait for next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and, then figure out what is going to happen? Because some of the businesses or some of the decision making or some of these guys might be required to give those inputs that, how do we plan the next 12 months or next 6 months? So
Vijay, as the saying says, 21 days, if you do anything, it becomes a new normal, right? So we've crossed the 21 days. So, so we're already in that phase of getting used to it. A lot of organizations, India is sitting on the cusp, I'm sure all of us know, which direction we will be moving. But the way the lockdown is happening, that's a positive response to making sure that we recover faster. A lot of organizations are also going through their quarterly results, right? It really depends on what you have sold in the first 2-3 months and what's your market, right? Really depends upon those. So if you have done well, you see, I'm sure we're seeing in newspaper, a lot of larger companies have revised their, the earnings,
Projection.
right? Projections, and they said, hey, we're looking down, right? So a lot of companies are doing that. From a TA angle, I think it's not wait and watch, but you know that's going to come, right? It's a matter of time when the numbers will come through. But from a TA angle, it's a very clear this thing of saying that you know what you need to hire. This is the right time to sit and do a lot of pipelining work of what needs to come through in a shorter period of time. You need to recalibrate on a lot of things which will affect, like a lot of your campus students, their curriculum, I don't know which state they are, they might get pushed little later. So really depending on the other exigencies, you might see a push out on somewhere there. But from a numbers standpoint, there is a slight delay, but hopefully in the next 2 weeks down the line, you'll see more clarity coming in, because as I said, it really depends on how, maybe how Vinay's organization is doing is very different to what a Raksha's organization is doing. So depending on their capacity, but one thing is very clear, I think, and a lot of companies have learned it from 2008, firing is not the right way of looking at a lot of things, because I have seen companies in 2008 fired and I had the same kind of skills back, right? So the reactive mode has gone away. I think it's a more proactive mode of saying that, hey, wait and watch. I would want to keep this headcount for us for a period of time. So that's the sense which I'm getting. So Raksha, Vinay, you guys can add.
Raksha?
Yeah. So I think it all depends, Vijay. While we would look at some of it becoming a new normal, as I said, but it again depends on where we are trending. So I was hearing a conversation or a webinar sometime back, which said a lot of our behaviors, a lot of our trajectory would be decided the way the world recovers or the economy recovers or the companies recover. Depending on whether it's a V-shaped recovery or a U-shaped recovery or an L-shaped recovery, a lot of it would depend on how the recovery is looking like. There would be some things that would be redefined, but again, we will have to live it by the day or see what's coming in. We just need to be more aware of how we are approaching and how we are getting back to doing things. I don't think we can decide as of now. While something that we do for 21 days becomes a habit, and in my case, I think it's late. Getting up late in the day because we have no schools and no kids to send to schools. But apart from that, I think everything else will have to be taken by what it holds at that moment.
Sure. Vinay, you have anything to add on this?
I think everybody should watch Ramayana. It's pretty gripping, 2 times a day. Definitely doesn't let you move away from your sofas. It definitely is take every day as it comes. I definitely see a lot of master chefs coming out at the end of this lockdown in the world, not just our country. I see a lot of fitness experts coming out. I see a lot of new things coming out, which is a positive of anything like this. But if you ask me, I think once life gets back to normal, this will be a phase that we will talk about, saying that we were also quarantined at some time in our lives. You are at least lucky you're not quarantined. So that's what's going to be the new normal when you talk about it. So that's my view.
Sure. Yeah, so opening the forum for the larger Q&A. Guys, feel free to raise questions.
Hi, this is Radhika. I have a general question, maybe.
Radhika, you're not very audible. You might just want to correct your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's much better.
Okay, so with the HR, TA, everything's scaled down a bit. How are people engaging their teams? Like if you have a slightly larger team and they're not fully engaged for the day, are you even looking at that aspect or thinking of those things?
I think connecting with the team, I think that was Radhika, right? Connecting with the team is very important. Radhika, irrespective of having something for them to do or not. And my recommendation is, one, don't send them on a wild goose chase, which will not yield you anything. Connecting with the team and also understanding how are they doing, irrespective of the kind of work they're landing up doing. It's very important that we realize it's employee first. We are in a situation, it could happen to anybody. So it's very important that you do that. Also, my recommendation, what's worked well for me is do maybe a 30-minute team call if you have large teams, but don't drain it out with information which is not required, but maybe have a little bit more of a fun stuff and have the team, some of the people in the team drive it, right? That will also help break down the monotony at their own places at the period of time. That's worked well for me. So I'll share this.
Hi, this is Subhashri.
Subhashri, just 1 second. I have one more point to add, which will not just help Radhika, but I think everybody else. Engaging with people is very critical. Your own teams, your own businesses, etc. I would do. I mean, I've been doing a few things, and I think 2-3 things really help. So we try to do a virtual theme dressing day. And we had everybody in a certain color, on a call. I think doing these things virtually that you would have done otherwise offline are really fun. You should try and engage in doing all of those things with your teams. I said this on the earlier call, I'm saying this here as well. Please do not give work for the sake of giving work because you think people may not have too much work and we should keep them engaged by giving them some work. It's not work. If there's anything that you could do, possibly play an online game, challenge them. I mean, lot of my team members have been challenging me for Ludo, and I just go online and start playing with them when I receive those challenges. I think these are fun things to do. So these, I thought I should add to these points. Subhashri, you were asking a question. You can go ahead.
Yeah. I have 2 questions. By the way, I'm Subhashri from Chennai. I work with an international yoga institution as General Manager, HR and Operations. Now, I have 2 questions to this elite group of wonderful TA people, because I'm associated with TA for the last 20 plus years, working with companies like Wipro. There is a challenge that has come in front of me regarding a specific industry. This is the visual effects industry, where there is complete uncertainty because they are dependent on countries like US and UK to give them businesses. Now, the company has gone forward sometime late February to do a campus hire, and they have shortlisted around 40 candidates. January end, February, they were not very sure that the lockdown was going to be so long. So now they are in a fix as to what to do with them. That's point number 1. Point number 2, since there's so much of uncertainty in that visual effects industry, they don't know whether or how soon will theaters open, how soon will the films that people have been working on the production side, on the post-production side, will they get business? Because right now Netflix, no new serials have been opening up, and then theaters are closed, so they really don't know how it is. So there is a complete uncertainty from the industry perspective. That's number 1. So how to deal, or they have approached me asking how how TA can work in this regard. Point number one. Point number two, they have hired a very senior HR person for their organization who submitted the resignation letter in her previous company and wanted to be relieved by April 25th, because these people initially said, please come on board by April 25th. Now, the organization has not come back to the senior person about the date of joining. And now this person is in a fix in the current organization also, because she has already submitted the resignation letter and she's in a fix as to what she needs to tell her current employer, whether to withdraw the resignation letter or so. So these are the two questions that I have for the Zealite group. Now, from the organization perspective, what do we help, or how do I help this visual effects company in their times of uncertainty? Now, they have a very senior HR person who is, according to them, of no big use. They're only using him as an administrative service person. So no big gyan is coming from this senior HR person. So they've approached me and asked me, what will be your take, or how can you help us or advise us on what next? What do we do? Because they are struggling, they are around 250 plus, they're struggling to pay their own employees because of the uncertainty in the business. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just attempt to answer this, and then obviously Raksha and Andy can add on. So it's not just this particular industry that you're talking about that's impacted. In fact, mobility as an industry has been heavily impacted. Hotel as an industry has been heavily impacted. Nobody is using Ubers and Olas. Nobody is using Bounce. Nobody is using hotels. Nobody is traveling. The travel and holiday and tourism industry has been heavily impacted. So there are multiple industries that have come down to zero activity because of the lockdown. Now, given this scenario, if I had limited resources or funds and I have to hold on to people, I'll do a simple math and see that if I have to stay longer in the game just to survive, so that when things become normal, I can come back into operations, I will take those steps. They could be unconventional steps or conventional steps. Now, it could mean collectively everybody looks at a pay cut so that you stay longer invested. It could be trying to see if they can service any other industry and acquire those skills to help them. Then you do that. 2-3 things that you will list down to just see how long can you survive will be a good solutioning, Subhashri, that you can start off with as far as your question number 1 is concerned.
Okay, thank you.
Raksha, Adi, do you want to add anything on this?
Just a quick question on the first question. These guys, these are what, engineers on the design side?
Well, they are roto makers and kind of post-production where they work on very critical
it's a
projects or
physical projects, right?
Yes, physical projects, because they get the pictures or the clips and they have to work on the clips. Making like, for example, somebody.
And when are they supposed to onboard? When were they supposed to get onboarded?
They were supposed to get onboarded by the end of April.
Okay.
But now that's on hold. So
yeah,
they are not very sure. I'm sorry.
So if you look at entertainment as an industry, and if you look, and I'm sure you're following some of the movies, a lot of them have got deferred to about October to December.
Exactly. So
correct?
That is.
So if you just take a very intelligent punt of saying that it's going to get delayed.
Yeah.
Right. And as Vinay said, it really depends on the PNL, right? If you can survive with the pay cut, or saying that, hey, since these are people who are coming in, supposing I have offered you 10 lakhs, instead of saying I can't give you 10 lakhs, let me give you 5 lakhs and I will do a correction after a period of time. So those organizations would have to do that. Plus, remember a fact, you need to tell that folks in this industry will pick up. And then when you require them, you will create a mess in the market, right? Maybe ask, because people are intelligent enough to understand also what the market scenario is. My recommendation is look at the PNL, look at the cost, what Vinay also spoke about, and see if you can employ them, maybe defer it by a month or something, and then have them of saying that, hey, I can only pay you X, right? If you are interested, why don't you come? Once the industry goes fine, we will really look at the numbers, right? This is my input for you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Adi.
Thanks, Vinay. Vinay, back to you.
Raksha.
So, Raksha.
Okay, Shubhashri, for the second, I think for the first question, you've gotten your inputs from Vinay. For the second question, I think it is important for the individual to have a very open conversation with the current employer and, discuss on how this can be, if he or she, whoever it is, can take back the resignation if the individual intends to stay back with the current organization, and then decide on the way forward. If the organization that the individual is supposed to join is not giving a date of joining, which means that there's a risk to the offer that she's being. So I think it's prudent to have that open conversation with the current employer. Again, a lot of it depends on how long was the individual associated with the organization, what is the kind of relationship that the individual has built, and all of that. But to get her or him to the minimum risk situation, it would be advisable that the individual has an open conversation with the current employer.
Okay, so it's better to go with the current employer rather than the new employer.
Yeah, known devil is better than the unknown one. And he or she will have to adding on. Sorry, Raksha. He or she will have to add on to the reasons. Think of the reason why this person wanted to move out and clearly table it in due course of time, because there would be reason for him or her to move out, right? So table it, have a very fair conversation. Any organization would want their known person to stay back, then hire a new one. So or could be in that situation. That's an easy bet.
Okay, so it's better to stay back rather than go back to the new employer. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We can take more questions, right, Vijay?
Yes. We'll wait for a couple more.
Hi, Vijay, and hi, Raksha, Aditya, and Vinay. I think thanks a lot for taking us through it. Myself is Mayuk. I'm a part of a company called Acolyte, and I take care of the recruitment for some of the global business accounts for them. So I think there's a lot of informative inputs what you guys have shared across in this last 1 hour. A couple of aspects which probably just came across in my mind, which I wanted to have a little bit query about. Aditya, one of the area you mentioned about the pipelining in terms of the key skills that you are looking in terms of the projected for your next quarters or the skills which are coming across to you. So with the current market or the current speculations which are all going around, what we are facing out is like the candidates who were probably the proactive job seekers are taking a back step, because they themselves might not be very clear that whether it's the right opportunity to change an organization. One aspect of it is maybe from a stability perspective, and also one is the job security, because they might feel that staying with my current organization may not help me to get a hike or a promotion this year, but at least my job is safe. So how does pipelining would probably be an option in this kind of a testing situation? That's one part. Second part is more from the onboarding perspective. And I see that most of the organizations from an ethical standpoint and from a humanitarian ground, definitely we understand. And we are looking to go back to the remote onboarding structure, which is probably the right structure, and to come to ensure that we have the right engagement level with our candidates. But there's a major challenge which is coming across, which I am checking across in terms of the many of the IT and banking sectors specifically, is like the assets. Now, if I onboard a candidate through remotely, probably they join to the organization, they enjoy the start of their day to the organization, but then how do I ensure their assets? Because majority of the organization doesn't allow even to get into their system unless they have a VPN access or the remote structure access. So as an outsider, I might be into the join an organization, but then I don't have an access to any of the tools or trainings of that organization. So technically, from a business perspective, that might be a loss of productivity. How do you think that situation is something which you feel to deal with?
Okay, since you put my name, I'll just quickly go. First thing is pipelining. I meant pipelining for making sure that, see, it's very simple. You sit with business to understand, and when you have this conversation, take COVID out of it, okay, and then ask, okay, what's your 1-year projection? What's your 5-year projection? What's the kind of skills you want to burn? What are the skills you want to hire, right? What are the areas of things which will come through? Pipelining means to create a pipeline, but not speak to them at the period of time. Pipelining means having readily available the day the work opens, you are ready to go. You don't spend time sourcing, right? You have a readily available pipeline. That's what I meant basically. One is that, so that you sit with business and understand and then create the pipeline. As soon as the positions open, you know what needs to be worked upon. You don't spend time again on sourcing, right? Your turnaround time is far more faster, right? And the second one, which you talked about, I will disagree, because a lot of organizations don't have an ODC setup, all right? A lot of work, VPN is the most misused word, by the way. You actually don't need to be connected to VPN all the time, okay? It's only that if you want to look onto your internal web for a particular period of time, you need to be connected. In fact, my recommendation to a lot of folks is don't be connected to VPN most of the time. So a lot of organizations are in a state where they are delivering laptops. The work started. We have people who are up and running. Yeah, you're right. May not be 100%. Maybe that person is 30 to 40%. Remember a fact that if you don't onboard them from a TA angle, I am scared he might join somewhere else, right? Secondly, is also from a fear of saying that if I'm going to push out, what's the kind of image I will bring about my organization in the market, right? So it's very clear. Sometimes it's not all about productivity. It's about the human being, to making sure that it's fine. You know, people maybe at optimally maybe utilized for 45% of the time. We will make up this loss, right? As simple as that. This is my thinking towards what you asked. Vinay, Rakshay, guys.
Yes, I think Aditya, you are absolutely right here, and I strongly and firmly believe it's okay for somebody not to be 100% productive and not being able to contribute as much as we would want the individual to be contributing from day one. As we all know in TA that our businesses expect, you know, a ready source to come in and start contributing. But it's fine, it's okay. You know, as we were just talking about letting our teams to be okay, you know, let them have some fun time, have some time off. I think it applies to the entire organization. It is okay if there are moments or there are days or there are months, couple of months where they're not being productive. It's about having them on board. It's about honoring our commitment. It's also being about ethical. You know, these people would be between jobs. They would have their families to take care of. Their insurances would not, may or may not be there. In a situation like this, it would be a mental torture for any individual to be in between jobs and not knowing when to start with the new job. As far as possible, and if the organization is big enough to be able to support that, I think it is important that we do that. And again, important thing, we still have offer rejects. We still have no shows on the day of joining, which means that, you know, though the hiring has slowed down, but it's not completely stopped. So as TA professionals, as TA leaders, I think it's also important to see that, you know, when we've made a decision on hiring a great individual for our organization, we go ahead and onboard that individual. Now coming to the first part of your question, Mayuk, I think it's not only about pipelining. I think it's about having those proactive career conversations. There are two things. One is we have a recruitment conversation when we are actively hiring. Another is that we have a career conversation, which is a proactive conversation. These may not be for an open position. These are conversations where we build relationships with individuals. And it doesn't, see, earlier we used to think about career conversations only with exec level hiring or senior level hiring. But I think it's important that if you want to have a great hire to your organization and somebody who would be invested in and would actually be the right fit for the organization, it's important to have career conversations with individuals at all levels. You know, it ultimately, it also reduces your cost per hire and your time to hire, you know, in the long run. You get to know what's happening in the market. So it's about having those career conversations, building those relationships with your potential employees, because they also are looking at joining an organization which matches their DNA, their thought process, their culture fit, and so on. I think it's an evaluation which happens both ways. That's all, Vinay.
Yeah, I'll just add, one point here as far as pipelining is concerned. I think this is a brilliant opportunity for everybody in the recruitment side to talk about how different types of profiles can be pushed through. A lot of times your businesses will come back and say that I only want these things. And sometimes in your head, you're thinking, why can't we give them with these two things and it'll still do the job? This is that time when you can experiment, because in a normal scenario, people will not listen to you. I'll tell you a simple story. I was looking at hiring somebody in React.js. And I'd written a post on LinkedIn because I use social media very effectively as far as recruitment is concerned. A fresher from Indore reached out to me in my inbox saying that I would like to apply to this position. I had a quick chat with him and I realized that technically he's very strong, but he does not have work experience because of obvious reasons. He's not got opportunities. So I went to my CTO and I sort of told him that just have a chat with this individual, and if you don't like him, we definitely will not hire him, but have a chat. Yeah, it's worthwhile. And this is before lockdown. I'm sharing a story, but it's relevant to a lot of you during this lockdown. CTO had a chat with this guy, and within 20 minutes, he came to me and said that, what's the CTC? Said he's not even working. So we offer him a fresher CTC. He's like, no, give him a CTC worth 2 years experience and get him on board. So, it really is an opportunity that all of you can look at as far as your pipeline building is concerned, where you can build different types of pipelines and use this time well.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for all the feedbacks. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Hi, this is Payal. I am actually from a gaming industry, and when people are talking about that, of course, gaming is a world which will boom up. Yes, it will, but only the digital game. In our case, the 60% of our revenue comes from a casino, and unfortunately, due to the lockdown in US, it is a major hit for us. For the 60% revenue side, and we have a fairly large, contingent worker team with us. The outlook for YS20 is very, very great for us, because right now the digital business is contributing about 20% to the overall revenue, and the target is to increase that partnership in the overall organization revenue close to about double the digit, maybe the 40% and the above. So my question is that, the world is talking about virtual joinings and all. We also, we have also deferred a couple of offers, because apparently the India Center, there are more than 1,000 employees who are working, and 60% of them are actually working on a LAN-based games. When in a situation like this, we don't know when the casinos will open and we will go with the new games. So we may need to restructure our own employees, where the LAN-based employees may shift and get an opportunity to work on a digital side. Hence, we defer a couple of offers in the market stating that we will not going ahead. But having said that, we will also ensure that we only defer those candidates where there is a possibility where they could have been retained back in their current organization. So anybody who say that I will be jobless, my current organization is not retaining me back, we honor that offer. So then as an organization, we decided that we'll go with a virtual joining. So my question is that the organization who are going with a virtual joining, have they also thought over it that virtual joining is maybe a space where a candidate, maybe your potential employee, may join two organizations at the same time?
That's an
Is there any
interesting one.
possibility or is there not? Because, we thought over it many a times and we don't know. So I thought it's a good forum to ask this.
No, I'll make it very simple, Payal. It's a very simple answer. There's something called dual employment. You can't do that. As simple as that. So
But
you
in
can't.
this situation, we are actually not giving them,
No, my question is, supposing, let's take an example. You offered Raksha a job, right? Raksha says she joins your company and she joins my company at the same time, right? Correct? Payal, that's what you said.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so but my question is, that's not legally allowed. It's called dual employment. As simple as that. It's a very simple answer to your long question.
So no,
Yeah.
declaration,
Yeah,
nothing, the addition is required.
So tell me, when the person goes out from here and the person gets tax returns for 2 companies, will that person get caught? So that's the
No.
reason.
So we are looking at, okay, so my question is not like that, right? So for example, you offered me a job at the same time Vinay also offered me a job. I joined both the organization and later on I decide I would like to go ahead with Vinay Trivedi, not with your organization.
Correct. And
Right?
in how many days did you do that?
Maybe, 15 days, 20 days or
Yeah,
about a month.
so when you join an organization, your email ID, a lot of things get configured. You taken into account that you are an employee of an organization. You can fall into one from a dual employment, second legal issues, right? Actually, if somebody does that, that person must be something really wrong with that person. You can't end up doing. It's called dual employment.
So you guys have not actually incorporated any forms for special declaration in case of the.
No, you need to sign on documents when the laptop gets delivered to you. By the way, you sign on a lot of documents, and there's something called DocuSign, which is digital signatures of taking into account that you will be working here as an employee. There are a lot of things which are done online, right? Digitally, you can enable that. And the person, person can't be employed at 2 places at the same time.
So I'll just there is a risk. There could be somebody who will join 2 organizations at the same time. Maybe in 15 days, he would decide to to just stay with one and leave the other. There is a risk. There is no doubt there is no risk. Okay. Having said that, this is an environment of trust that we need to develop with our candidates who will then become our employees, where we, make sure and give them that assurance that, why would somebody do 2 places? Because they want to see which one's better, what is happening, so on and so forth, if at all they do it, right? So your joining formalities anyways cover dual employment as a part of your onboarding, because in most companies, onboarding checklists have these clauses ticked off. So that takes care of in case somebody's caught. B, the trust and value factor or a relationship factor plays a far higher role, where when you connect with these candidates and then connect with these employees, they genuinely come clean and they only join one organization. Having said that, does that risk exist? Yes, it exists. Can it be permanent? No, it cannot be.
Okay. Thanks, Vinay and Arti.
Hi, I'm Meenakshi. Can you all hear me? Okay, I run an executive search firm. It's a boutique firm. I have about 22 people in the team. And we've been doing hiring for a lot of sectors for the last 14 years. Personally, I believe in a lot of training and, upgrading the skill sets of our team members. So far, what we've done is, of course, there is ongoing some work which is on and some pipeline that we've been creating. But I feel going forward in next 1 week or so, we may not have enough work. So I've identified a few courses, for my team members to, take and undergo, which is like from Coursera, some business communication related courses. We've been attending a lot of training programs which are being conducted by LinkedIn. Internally, we've developed certain modules, how to, there are people who need a lot of skills on interviewing, skills, for example. So, but I would like the panel to suggest if there's some other courses, which are available, which we can ask our team members to sort of undergo right now to make use of the time, you see.
I'll go ahead on this one. I know you have a lot of thoughts around this, but Meenakshi, while it is good to upskill people, I think this is also an opportunity to identify some of the existing skills that the individuals may have. Some of them may be good at presenting, some of them may be good at working with data, some of them may be good at talking to people and so on. And using those skills, how do you prepare for your future? While you're looking at training them, but also how about honing the existing skills. And then again, not necessary, if it is a breather, and I know it's a small firm and you have your finances to manage and all of that, but it is important to ensure that you sail through this period along with your employees. Ensure that the morale is high, ensure that there's a seamless communication, and ensure that whatever you've done in the past, how you're building on it. You would have a lot of data with you, you would have a lot of insights, you would have a lot of learnings. How can you share that with each other? How do you build on those insights? How do you build on those learnings? Go ahead, Vinay.
Yeah. So Meenakshi, I think this is possibly the only time where your recruiters can chill a little bit, allow them to chill and have fun with the team. But having said that, since you definitely have certain things moving, and this for everybody else as well, this is the best time to create story banks. Storytelling as a format is a very, very powerful tool. If you can create a story bank of success stories of your own teams, and how you could do that is, as a leader, I would give 3 or 4 different scenarios to my teams. I will ask them to share their story of how they were successful in that scenario. I create that as a bank, and I keep then using it for training people and for giving them a perspective of how recruitment has to be done. So creating story banks could be a good opportunity, because this is a time that you could utilize, and stories work. They sell, and people register and remember stories. So I would say try and do that with your teams instead of going through the traditional courses, which should actually be a part and parcel of your day-to-day activity or day-to-day life, not just during a pandemic or a situation like this.
So this Meenakshi, maybe we can connect later on also on this. But it's a very simple process. One, every individual has a different need. So do trainings according to the need for that person to be successful. Don't do trainings because you have time in hand. One is a very simple ask in that. And search industry itself is evolving, right? It's very difficult to get the right person in, and the amount of time, leeway time the person has to join and come back from somewhere else, it also takes a lot of time. So my recommendation is do individual trainings, looking at individual needs and wants. There are good courses, but end of the day, it needs to come from the individual. The second is, I feel, and in fact, if I'm not wrong, Vijay's team did a session on sourcing. So my thinking is, for me in recruiting, the most and the only intelligent part is sourcing. I'm being very honest. They need to hone those skills of understanding the various tricks on sourcing. They need to spend time. There are SMEs in the market. There are enough leaders who can go back and speak to your teams on saying, hey, work on this, look at this. This is the best way of looking at mapping organization, because I know for a fact that search organization goes through a long list, short list. It's a Herculean task, right? So my recommendation is spend time more on the sourcing part, because that's the part which has a lot of intelligence. Rest all is more of program management. These are my inputs.
Sure. I think we'll hold the questions now. We are already overshooting the time by 15 minutes. Thank you so much, each of you, for beautiful suggestions. I think the gist of the whole thing is coming out to be human, keep calm, wait it out. I think we will kind of, get through it together.